Philadelphia Flyers have re-signed Tyson Foerster to a 2-year deal worth $7.5 million. So they're going to be on the hook here for $3.75 million per year for the next 2 years, or for a 2-year extension. It is a hell of a deal and a damn good bit of business by the Philadelphia Flyers, by Danny Briere, by Keith Jones, by the Flyers organization. And I wanted to see you with a few numbers here. $3.75 million per year for Tyson Foerster. And I want to put it in perspective because a couple of years ago, when the Flyers really seemed like they were force-feeding Tyson Foerster the puck late in a season that Torts was trying to push these guys to the playoffs, which I thought was always kind of nonsensical and ridiculous and wasn't ever going to really matter because it wasn't a very good team. Foerster, at that point, I was like, I don't know, like, is he the real deal? And if he is the real deal, how real is that deal? And then I kind of went into this season with a little bit more of an open heart, a little bit more of an open mind. I'm like, yeah, the guy's really young. Guy was 22 going into the season. He only turned 23 back in January. So he entered the 24-25 season at just 22 years of age. And so I thought, all right, we'll see. Another year of Torts. We'll see how he does, how he looks. And then we saw down the stretch, especially the way that he closed out the season. This is post the Torts exit. This is the Bradshaw on the bench kind of guy. Foerster in the month of April, final month of the season, 6 games played, had 7 goals. 7 goals out of the 25 that he scored on the year came in the month of April. Now, admittedly, those games didn't really matter. Most of those teams, certainly not postseason bound. They included the Rangers, the Islanders, the Senators, the Blue Jackets, and the Sabres. So they weren't exactly like barn burner teams. They weren't exactly teams that, were actively jockeying for position. I think the Rangers were still technically alive at that point, although their chances were fleeting. But 7 goals in his last 6 games in the month of April, post-Torts departure. And I thought to myself, that actually looks a little bit legit. Like, out of all the things that he had done that season, in the 24-25 season, I thought, that's a strong end of the season. And it would have been really easy for a lot of these guys to mentally and physically check out. And I felt pretty decent about it. And so you kind of parlay that with the fact that he represented Team Canada. And all of a sudden, it felt like Tyson Foerster's stock was maybe on the way up. And I'm not going to stand here and try to wax poetic about what it means to represent your home country or anything like that. But I will just note that, like, that was more than just like a nothing burger of an appearance for Foerster. And I think that, like, when you're taking a look at what separates a guy, what makes a guy a legitimate player going forward, yes, you want to see him perform for his team. Yes, you want to see him perform for the team that pays him beaucoup bucks. But I think even more so, the thing that you want to see out of a young player is, does he represent his country well? And if he's called upon to represent his country, does he do well? And the answer was, yeah, Foerster was certainly, like, not lighting the world on fire, but he was a good player. And the fact that he's on the national team's radar, albeit during the Stanley Cup playoffs, and albeit when there are a bunch of guys that probably would have boxed him out on the roster, the fact that he got a look, to me, was a large positive. And he had 3 points, 2 goals, 1 assist in 7 games played for Canada. It's not a bad result for a guy who just turned 23 in January. And so then I wanted to take a look at one other thing. And I was like, all right, so Foerster was 22 going into the season. And he finished with 25 goals, which had him 85th in the league for goal scorers. And 85th is whatever. That's not really matters. Tyson Foerster's not given, first-line minutes. So I was like, all right, 85 goal scorers in the league put in at least 25 pucks in the back of the net. And then I cross-referenced that and I said, all right, well, based on guys who started the season at 22 years of age or younger, how many of those guys went on to score 25 goals? The answer is 10. Only 10 players in the National Hockey League who started the 2024-2025 season at age 22 or younger. Only 10 players finished with 25 or more goals. And so then you think about it and you go, all right, what are some of the comps? Who are some of those guys that are part of that group? And the one that most closely kind of sticks out and is a name that I tweeted about yesterday, and I'll go more in depth on this on Friday's show in full. But the guy that I'm the most interested in when it comes to potential free agent targets is Matthew Nyes from Toronto. Now, this isn't me saying that it's going to happen. This isn't me saying that there's even a very good chance of it happening. It's just me pointing out that, like, he kind of fits the bill. He's certainly a guy that the Flyers should be pursuing this offseason, but it's going to be a guy that Toronto's obviously going to want to move heaven and earth to keep. I think that if we're being realistic about it, Marner's gone. I think that there's a good chance that Tavares and Bennett end up swapping teams. That's neither here nor there. I think the Flyers should be on Tavares, but it doesn't matter. Could a poison pill contract to Matthew Nyes put Toronto in a really bad spot where if they have to match it, you've now poison pilled them, and if they don't match it, you've gotten yourself a really good player for what it's probably going to amount to a first-round pick. And if you are able to punt one or both of these late first-round picks this year into a pick next year, maybe it gives you that anti-lottery protection, because there are people now convinced after a fluke year of Utah and the Islanders moving up, then now people think, the Flyers are going to just miss the playoffs, and they're going to somehow, it's going to be the year that their pick is going to end up jumping to number one, and they're going to miss out on Gavin McKenna. Like, I don't think it's going to happen, and I think that anomaly is going to always stand out as an anomaly, but maybe I'm crazy. But anyway, Matthew Nyes is one of the only other guys that were at age 22 or younger going into last season that finished with 25 or more goals, and he finished with 29. And so I'm not trying to compare Foerster and Nyes heads up, because Nyes is a better player, but Nyes has also had a better supporting cast. So again, make of that what you will. But I'm like looking at some comps and like, I don't know. There to me feels like there could be something here with Foerster. And so then you look at it and you go, all right, what's Nyes going to get? Right? Again, feels like I'm doing a heads up comparison. Really didn't intend to, but now it kind of sounds like a heads up comparison. But like Nyes could probably get $7 million, $8 million, maybe more as a restricted free agent, especially if a team is willing to offer sheet, right? So if that's the case, if Nyes could get $7, $8 million at age 22, 23 as a restricted free agent, is that what Foerster would be worth? The answer is no. But if Foerster can put together 2 really good seasons here, making $3.75 million over the next 2 seasons, what's he going to be worth in 2 years? I don't know. But the cap's going to go up. And so, like, we've kind of been doing this, like, weird mental math thing in the hockey world. There are people who want to see the Flyers go after Marner, but the problem with going after Marner, as we all know, is it's probably going to cost you $13 or $14 million, which is absurd. And it's not something that I think the Flyers are going to get involved in. I don't know what team's going to be desperate enough to go $13 or $14 million for Mitch Marner. But part of the calculus that people are doing in their minds is, all right, well, the cap's going to go up for the next few years, and the cap percentage is going to go down. So even though Marner might eat up a ton of your cap next year, 2-3 years down the line, if the cap keeps going up, it's going to look like a bargain deal. If I'm the Flyers, it doesn't make any sense. They're going to try to go, big fish hunting next year, big game hunting next offseason. But could they, in the interim, could they decide that it maybe makes a little bit of sense to look at a Nyes? Well, if they do, again, that's, $8 million, maybe a little bit more, depends on that poison pill. But the Foerster of it all is interesting because at $3.75 million, he's not even registering among your highest paid players. And in fairness, like, I'm not saying that he should. I'm just merely pointing out that at his age, to have found the back of the net 25 times in his age 22/23 season is impressive. And yes, again, it wasn't against great competition, but it's still something. And I'm not one, by the way, if you're new to the show, I'm not one to just like kind of talk up some of the young guys on the team and like try to sell you that like, oh, it's great, it's a great deal, oh, incredible stuff. I do think that like objectively, it's a good deal because worst case scenario, Foerster goes out and he's only a 20-goal guy or a 25-goal guy for the next 2 years, right? At $3.75 million, it's a good deal. And in 2 years from now, if all he proves to be is a 20, 25-goal scorer, guess what? He's not going to get much of a raise. He'll be an RFA again. You could either trade his rights, you could run the risk of somebody giving an offer sheet, maybe you get a comp pick back, or maybe you sign him to another affordable contract beyond that. Now, there's risk, right? If Foerster somehow becomes a 30, 35, 40-goal scorer, I don't see right now, but like if he becomes a 30-goal scorer over these next 2 years, well, then he's going to cash in a big way 2 years from now, which isn't the worst scenario. If you're the Flyers, I think the Owen Tippett signing is kind of proven to be one of those ones that you go, the length of the AAV, it's a little bit long and too much money, and he's a very erratic player. But with Foerster, you've kind of done the opposite. Now you've got control for 2 years at a very low AAV. And yeah, it might burn you. Like, it is possible that in 2 years, we're looking at Tyson Foerster, the 35-goal scorer, going, holy shit, nobody thought that was coming. But then you still have his rights. And then you still have the ability. Yeah, you might have to pay him a lot more, but you still have his rights. That's the crazy part of the whole thing. And like, if you're a negative Nelly about the Flyers and the contracts they give out, this is like the perfect scenario. It's a low cap hit, and you maintain his RFA rights in 2 years. It's damn good business. It would be very, very hard to argue against the merits of the move. Oh, no, by the way, I think they're going to make the playoffs next year because I think they're going to do enough with this roster to make it. But I will also point out that, like, even if they don't, you're not going to look back at a $3.75 million cap hit and say, oh, what a disaster that was. That's not going to happen.